Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ha, Racha, Chodash, Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Double honors to my elder, Aharawan Ban Yasharala of the Lions Den Camp, here in Jacksonville, Florida. Salutations to the sincere Akim, pushing his truth and sincerity around the four corners of this earth. I'm Nakar Harab Ban Yasharala, coming out of the Lions Den Camp of Yasharala here in Jacksonville, Florida. And now today I'll be coming out with a little small lesson. And title of it is Man's Goings. Because as you know, and as you've been seeing, Russia has been getting ready and preparing to defend themselves or getting prepared for what armed conflict. You know, Esau painting the narrative that Russia wants to invade Ukraine, but I was doing a little bit of research and I think his name is Lavrov, but he's like, I guess he's like the representative for Russia, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he was basically saying that Russia has no intentions on invading the Ukraine, but Russia has very much the intention to defend themselves should they be attacked in any way, form, or fashion. And you know, right now on the world stage, these countries, they don't want a war, and they're trying to avoid a war. But war is on the horizon. War is looming. And this war is going to happen. Why? Because man's goings are of the Lord. The Lord is going to draw these nations into a war with each other. So without further ado, I'm going to play this excerpt and then get some scriptures.
Russia flexing its military muscle just 50 kilometers from the Belarusian border with Ukraine. For weeks, troops have been arriving, even from Russia's far east, 10,000 kilometers away. It is clear that this is far bigger than previous military exercises. While Russian officials have not disclosed the number of soldiers involved, NATO speaks of 30,000.
If you consider that an invasion of a large territory like Ukraine is in Putin's interest, to have the chance to attack from the south, from Marine and Crimea forces, from the east, from Russian soil, and from the north, in a joint action of Russia and its ally Belarus. So, militarily speaking, it couldn't be any better.
Footage released by Russian Ministry of Defense showed tanks and missile launchers being used in the drills and military jets in the air. From the Belarusian border with Ukraine, it is less than a 2-hour drive to the capital, Kiev. Western leaders worry if this is a serious drill or a ploy for a real attack. For the next 10 days, the world's eyes will be on the largest Russian contingent on Belarusian soil in decades, a possible second front for Vladimir Putin, who makes use of the isolated and international weak position of his protege, Alexander Lukashenko. Lukashenko came under sanctions from the West after he was accused of election fraud and a violent crackdown on the opposition. While the Belarusian leader has always stressed the independence of Belarus and refrained from condoning Putin's military actions in Crimea and eastern Ukraine, he has now turned to the Russian leader for help.
Military forces have always left Belarus after the end of an exercise. Right now, there are more participants and the rhetoric is aggressive. I think Lukashenko's attitude is caused by his annoyance with the West and the fact it doesn't recognize him as a legitimate leader.
He believes Russian troops will eventually leave after the drills finish on February 20. Until then, speculation about the real purpose of this show of force will likely continue.
So there you go. Russia just letting it be known that they're going to defend themselves. And it is the Lord who's doing these things, who's making Russia and Putin and these other nations or I would say cause static between them, especially between Russia and Babylon. But without further ado, this is Proverbs chapter 20, verse 24. It says, man's goings are of the Lord. How then can a man understand his own ways? So man's goings are of the Lord. So meaning we're only going to do what the Most High has willed us to do. And The Lord has willed these nations to eventually go to war. He has willed it for the tensions to rise between these countries, such as Russia, China, America, Germany, and so forth and so forth. Korea. Because why? Because the man's goings of the Lord. So the Lord is putting it in these other nations' heart, i.e., mind, to get prepared for war. And Russia is doing exactly the same. Because why? Because man's goings are of the Lord. How then can a man understand his own way? It's already been set up for us to move and go a certain way. Let's continue. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 5. Verse 21. It says, "For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord Yahweh, and he pondereth all his goings." See, the ways of man, the things that we do, how we move, how we act, when we move, when we act, are before the eyes of the Lord Yahweh. And it is the Lord who pondereth, who thinks about, who plans out all our goings. What we will do, what we won't do, where we will go, where we won't go. And the same thing is still very relevant. The Lord is the one that's directing all of this stuff, Yahweh, because he spoke it. So it's going to happen. So we're going to continue to see tensions rise. We're going to continue to see these nations perform military drills as a show of force, as indirect and or direct threats to other countries, mainly Babylon, that it's going to be a problem should a problem arise. So the Lord see all this and he's directing it. He's doing it. Proverbs 16. Proverbs 16, verse 9. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord Yahweh directeth his steps. So a man's heart, a man's mind, a man may think, oh, I'm going to do this today, or I'm going to go this way today. But it's the Most High who direct the steps. You can think what you want, but you're only going to do what the Lord has set up and or willed for you to do. And these other nations, he has willed them to go to war. He's going to direct their footsteps right into a conflict. Though their hearts may devise a plan of let's reach a diplomatic conclusion to this. Let's de-escalate the situation. The Lord is directing this situation for it to escalate. And he's directing these other nations and their leaders like Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un, and so forth to prepare for war, to prepare for battle. And the Lord is directing their steps. Yahweh is directing this whole thing. He controlling this. It's the Lord that's in control. Jeremiah chapter 10. The Most High is in control, period. Man's goings are not of himself, as I'm finna get in Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23. It says, O Yahweh, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in a man that walketh to direct his steps. So again, it is not in the way of a man. That's like the way of a man is not in himself, meaning you don't determine what you will and won't do. And don't do for that day, that week, that month, that year, whatever. It is the Lord who is in control. It says, it is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. So we really ain't even in control. And see, Esau fails to realize this. That's why they have all their vain imaginations and opinions and their failed diplomatic solutions. Because they don't understand that it is the Lord who's directing everything. And man's ways are not in himself. So yes, no free will, contrary to popular belief. You do what the Lord has set up for you to do. Last point, back in Proverbs. This is Proverbs 19. I'm going to read verse 21. It says, there are many devices in a man's heart. So there are many thoughts, many ways of thinking in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, that shall stand. So the only thing that's going to stand is the counsel of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. The only thing that's going to stand is the truth, the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, righteousness. Because why? There's many devices within a man's heart, many thoughts, many plans, many goals per se. So man don't control himself. Yahweh controls man. Shalom.